guys, Eddie and Andy jumping in here before getting this vlog set up, just to give you guys a little primer. I read this epilogue after a night where I read through the entirety of, I think, chapter 24, the last chapter, and had trouble sleeping, and I was working at the time, so I am both very tired and very obviously exhausted. So I don't think I give the epilogues as much discussion as they should have had. For instance, I don't mention Cutter, I should say now Crocus, and his great ending with Apsalar. I was just really affected by the end of Crippled God, and it really bled over to my regular life. So I'm just jumping in here to say, take this vlog with a grain of sand, and in my reviews, both my spoiler-free and spoiler reviews for Crippled God, which are coming out in the next couple of weeks, I'll go much more into detail about epilogues and where the ending was and how I felt about it. So I'll talk about it a little bit here, but I wanted to give that little primer before we go. But without further ado, let's start the vlog.
First epilogue done of Crippled God. Just a beautiful passage of grief, which I think is really fitting for the way this ends. We're at the barrow for everyone at the spire, specifically Stormy and Gessler, and the funeral and the sealing of the barrow. A lot of beautiful moments about, like, they're not putting any treasures there because Stormy and Gessler themselves would have robbed the barrow, and the grief of Corlott is dealt with, which is great because we hadn't dealt with that really since Memories of Ice. We see her deal with that, and then there's just this beautiful ending as she is able to meet with Whiskey Jack one more time because Fiddler calls her back, or calls Whiskey Jack back by playing the song on the fiddle. We see that Ganos and the adjunct are now together, and we hear that Ganos' parent doesn't go far from his sister. You can imagine there's a tight bond there. Khalith is going to go into the north and try to find one of the last tribes of the Ilan, and assume that the Kachain Shamal will go there with them as well. Hood is now with the undead Jagged, although he himself is not undead, leading them. So a lot of, like, loose ends picked up, and we see where people end up. And there's a great portion at the beginning that says this is not like a war, it was a liberation, I think is the word that is used. Yeah, this has always been a war for liberation, pointing out that the Kolanzi are not the evil people here, it was the Assail. And a couple pages left. Read it and then do some final thoughts. So for now, that's going to be it. The Crippled God, 10th and final book of the Malazan Book of the Fallen is done. Second epilogue, like I said, that first one was really about our grief, and the second one is really about giving us a very nice ending. I love the poetry of ending, very similar to how we started this whole thing in the prologue of Gardens of the Moon, a young boy who is desiring glory and desiring fame and riches through soldiering, just like Ganos Perrin was at the beginning of Gardens of the Moon. He comes up to Fiddler, who's now this old man who fishes each late morning and stays up late because he stays at night having fun with and playing his fiddle at Smiley's. And the boy says, I'm not going to be like you, I'm going to be a soldier. Irony, of course, but instead of what Whiskey Jack says to Ganos at the beginning, where I think, paraphrasing, he says something like the world has enough soldiers, he says the world could always use more soldiers. It's a testament to the level of soldiers that are talked about in this Malazan book. Those people who fight for compassion. That is what the bridge burners, that is what the bone hunters are. Beautiful ending. Truly, I mean, endings are hard, especially a book this massive, beautiful. Oh, and we see the Amas and Udanas happy on the beach. Beautiful. A completely beautiful story. Loved it. I'm so happy I read this book. Phenomenal.